Okay, so today's webinar is going to be about the Manager module. I'm going to go over all of the tabs that are located within the Manager module. I also have Matthew. Matthew is also available today. He is available for any questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in and he'll be able to answer for you. And we'll go ahead. Shouldn't be too long of a webinar today. I'd say about 30 to 40 minutes at the most, maybe less, depending on when I get in there to see how much detail I'm going to go into. Like I said, I hope everyone's having a great day, and let's go ahead and get started. So to get access to the Manager module, just to let you know that it is a permission that, that has to be given by the facility. So here at WebABA, we're not able to give anyone access to Manager module. So if you were to send in a request to give access to Manager module to somebody, we would probably we would respond with letting you know that you need to go into the Manager module and give the Manager module access to someone else. So someone that has access to the Manager module should be able to give access to somebody else, which is this link right over here on the dashboard. So even if they have access to the dashboard, they will not necessarily have access to the Manager module. This link is activated through the user add edit users tab, which I'm going to be going over today. You'll be able to add that access for them. But like I said, if any requests do come through support, so if anybody sends in a request, just know that we will not give them access. It has to be granted through the facility itself, and this is for security reasons because it is the back end setup of the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click Manager Module, and it's going to open a new window. So you always have this window to go back to. So here in the Manager module, you have all of these tabs here. I'm going to go through each one of them here. So let's say you're a brand new facility and you need to get set up. So this is what I'm going to go through, exactly what I go through with clients that have just signed up with us. So first, I would probably recommend confirming this information here under the setup facility, facility setup. This section here, whatever you see here will actually show up on the HCFA 1500 form, the CMS 1500 form that goes to the insurance company. So this information needs to match what you have registered with the insurance companies. It's really important. So anything wrong here, it could cause denials. And anything that you do change in here, just know that any claims that are generated after you have made the changes will reflect that change. Anything in the past will not change. Only things that are going pretty much rendering in the future and generating those 1500 forms for insurance submission. So be careful when changing. If you are billing with us, I do recommend always talking to your account manager before changing anything in here. That's really important because they would probably have the best advice as to what to change and when to change it. So like the address, then you have your NPI. This NPI field here means that we want you to put the group NPI. So these have weird numbers here because this is a demo facility. So nothing gets sent out from this facility. So it would be your group NPI would be in here. You don't want to put a provider individual NPI. It is a case-by-case situation. Sometimes you'll have facilities where they will put their individual because they don't have a group number yet and they just have the one facility with probably just the one provider on staff. So EIN is your tax ID. So these two numbers are very important. They do have to be correct, and your billing address and the facility name. Facility name is really important because it depends on what the name they have. If you have a DBA, sometimes what some facilities will do, will put the company name there, and then after they'll put DBA so-and-so. But I always recommend triple check when it comes to insurances. Make sure that whatever you have going to the insurance companies and you have on your contract, that is what you want to put in here. The email obviously does not go over there. Contact person doesn't, but the rest of the information for the facility, phone number, zip code, all that fun stuff we'll go over. Taxonomy code is not required, but there are insurances that do require it. So if you guys do have a taxonomy code and you have that available, go ahead and put it in there. It doesn't hurt anything. So start and end time, as you can see, I'm trying to click it and nothing is changing. The reason why is this is embedded into the back end of the system from when you first set up your account with WebABA. What I usually do is when I build the facility for you guys, I usually change the times that you give us for your office hours. I usually put 2 hours before and 2 hours after your end time and 2 hours before your start time. The reason why is for setup purposes. So if you see these hours and you think, okay, this is incorrect, don't worry about it. It's supposed to be set up that way. It is for the calendar setup purposes so that you're able to see the calendar in a specific way. And you're not missing any data on the bottom or on the top. So I just put a little lee room in case. So I put that 2 hours before and 2 hours after the end time. So service area, miles 1, you want to leave that 1. That is for setup purposes. You don't have to worry about that. Default POS, what's really important is I recommend always as per location. The reason why is that when you put in the treatment locations for your clients, the treatment locations, it asks you the POS for that individual address. So sometimes you might have one where it's going to be a school, or it's going to be home, or it's going to be office. You can select based on that address that you put in there for the treatment location for that specific client, what POS you want it to be. So if you select as per location, what that does is it always takes whatever you have set up for that individual address that you're putting into that session. That is our recommendation. If you are full office space, you are welcome to put office. I still recommend doing as per location because your office treatment locations are going to be set up as a POS as office anyway. So it's going to pull from that too. It's totally up to you. It's your preference. It is for billing preferences. But if you are billing with us, our recommendation, and usually the way that our account manager set it up is as per location, just to be on the safe side. We want to make sure that you guys don't get any denials whatsoever. User default password. What this is that when you create a new user in WebABA, so I'm talking about not an employee, I'm talking about a user. So the first step is to create them as an employee. Second step is to create user access for that employee. So when you create user access for that employee, you send an email. It sends an email to them with a temporary password. You can actually designate what actual temporary password you want it to say. We actually just send a bunch of letters and numbers, like a long string of like letters and numbers. You could say, the name of your facility as a default password, totally up to you. It doesn't really matter as far as that for security purposes. The reason why is that once they click that link and they put in that default password, the system automatically prompts them to put in their own password. So this is just something, let's say somebody is not getting that email and you're sending out mass emails, you have a large facility and you want to send out, you've hired 10 people. You don't want to, worry about if someone calls back and say, hey, I'm not getting the email. All you have to do is say, hey, just go ahead and log in. This is the default password and the system will prompt you. Okay, so that's what the default password is here if you were to enter it into this field. And this is only for new users going forward. It doesn't go for, past users that are already using the system. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the next section here. Next section is add payers to the facility. So add payers to the facility, this, if you are familiar with it, is where the list of your payers for your facility is kept. Right here to the left, you have the master list. This is the list that we have in place that includes the payer ID, address, all that fun stuff. Sometimes you'll get new payers that you guys get contracted with, which is totally normal. Or if you're a new facility and you need to add payers to the facility, usually, if you're billing with us, we will take care of that for you. We'll come in here and add those for you. If you are billing in-house or you're using a different third-party biller, you would need to set this up yourself. So you would go through the master list, select the payer. Like for example, I am going to select, let's select one here. I'm gonna select AmeriGroup. So before I bring it over to this side, one thing you wanna remember is that there's not a back button. So once you add it here, it's set in your facility, but the reason why there's no back button is because let's say you create sessions against that insurance and you try to do back, it's gonna cause a lot of errors. So what we do is we take it back for you. So we do a triple check to make sure there's no sessions that are attached to it or any clients attached to it. The reason why is for error prevention. We definitely do not want you to see any errors or anything in the system. So, so it's really important to make sure and verify that is the correct insurance before you're adding it to your facility, just to reduce any steps you have to take to return it. So over here you have AmeriGroup. So if you select AmeriGroup, you can select View Detail. So this is before you add it to the facility. You scroll down here and then you have the name, you have the address. If you're usually when you send us payers and stuff, it's totally up to you. If you want to send us a phone number, contact phone number, totally up to you. Electronic payer ID. Payer ID right down here is the 81237. We usually put it in both fields for you to cover bases, but if it's a specific insurance like this one, we didn't need to. So that's the payer ID. That's really important. So if that is all correct and you know this is the address you're looking for, go ahead and click Add, and that will bring it over to this list here. So once it brings it over to this list, the second step that you want to do is, let me go ahead and find the one that I had chosen. You see, there you are. Okay, I see it's still highlighted, so I'm going to go ahead and click Add. So what it did is it add them to this list here. The second step is payer setup. So you want to go, after you've added that payer, you want to set them up. To set them up, all you have to do is select that, and you go ahead and select the box next to them. Make sure that it says electronic claim base, very important. If it's non-claim based, it will not generate that 1500 form, and it will not go to electronic billing. So it will not go to billing at all. It thinks that it's pretty much either cash pay or a regional location. It's not going to know that it's an electronic based insurance. So let's say you still send out paper claims for this insurance. We still recommend selecting electronic based. That is the reason why is that it still will generate a 1500 form for you correctly, so you can print it out and send it over manually to the insurance company. So still select electronic if you're sending out paper. If you're sending out paper claims, still select this so that it generates that 1500 form for you. So then you would select Save Payer Setup. One thing to know is that, let's say you are in here and you are looking for this payer and you do not see it. You've gone through the whole list and you do not see the payer that you're looking for, or one that was similar but it has a different payer ID, different address. Totally understand. Go ahead and send a ticket to support at amvicsolutions.com. You want to send an email there and to our support team, letting them know what the insurance is, what is the billing address, and a phone number if possible, and electronic payer ID or any payer ID that you have. So you want to make sure that information is put all together in an email and send it over and say, hey, I didn't see this in your list. Can you please add it to the master list? So what we'll do is we'll add it and we'll let you know it's been added, and you can come in here and add it to your facility. So just to let you know that you could do that. And you can also submit it through our help section. You can also do that too. We do recommend using the help section. It seems to come over, it comes over the same exact way, but we always recommend using the help section so that it will generate that ticket number for you right away. So, so the next thing here is add treatment types to the facility. If you guys are just doing behavioral therapy, usually the system will by default go ahead and add that for you. So we have other ones here if you decide to bring on different treatment types to your facility. You have mental health, OT, PT, and speech therapy. You can go ahead and add those. So the second step, let's say we added OT, you would come in here and add the employee types. So for behavior therapy, we have these types here, which is the behavior analyst and the paraprofessional. Those are the standard ones that we have for our system. The ones that you do see to the left are going to be ones that belong to the rest of the treatment types that we have in the system. So, you know, physical therapy, speech therapists, occupational therapists, they're all going to be here, and you can add those if you decide to add treatment types to different treatment types to the system. Payroll integration. This is usually used if right now we're just using this for ADP right now. If you do use a different payroll company, it doesn't apply right now. Maybe in the future we can add some more companies, but at this time we are just doing ADP integration. Vendor setups. This is used if you are, your state has regional locations. We can help you if you do decide to see kiddos at the regional center. Go ahead and let us know, and we will go through the setup process with you with that. Kiosk setup. What is this? What this is used for office-based facilities that have like a kiosk that they can set up at the beginning, in their lobby, that the parent can come in with their kiddo and go ahead and sign them in. So it's kind of like a check-in, check-out kind of system. If you are interested in looking into more information about that or seeing a demo, our sales team will be happy to help you with that. And you can either contact support or you can contact your salesperson. If you recently signed up, go ahead and contact your salesperson and go through a demo with you. If it's been a while you've been with us and you are interested in this, please do contact support through the help portal and submit a ticket saying, hey, I want to look at a demo, or I want to find out pricing for your kiosk because I am office-based and it is something I am interested in. So we will go ahead and send you that information or set up a demo for you. Company logo setup. So company logo setup is you can actually upload a JPEG file of your logo. Just go ahead and crop it out as best as you can, very close to the actual image, and go ahead and upload it as a JPEG file. Different ways you can do that. I've seen people use the snippet option, which is located in most Windows computers, PCs. They're available in there. You can find some things online that you can download that you can snip out the actual, or if you have Photoshop, you can do it that way too. But if you don't have Photoshop, you can just use the snippet tool. I think I can probably show you guys what that looks like. There we go, the snipping tool. So the snipping tool will just bring up a window here and go ahead and bring up the image in front of you. And then all you have to do is select new, and then you could just crop out the image and save it as a JPEG. And that usually works out pretty well. It comes out pretty clear from what I've seen. Just as long as the image is clear on your screen, you should be good to go, and you can upload that. And what that shows, it shows it on your paper-based reports. It doesn't show anywhere else in the system. It will just show on paper-based reports, because sometimes facilities will print out those reports if needed. So it will pop up on those reports for you. Not a lot of facilities use it because they just use those paper-based reports and download them just on a computer. It doesn't go anywhere else. It's just there for their facility. So it's totally preference. Custom field setup. So the custom field setup is used for, what it is that when you go into the employee file or you go into the client file, there's going to be a tab in there that says other setup. What that is, it has fields in there. You'll see for the staff, you'll see I think 1 through 6, custom fields 1 through 6, and then in the client you'll see 1 through 11. Those fields are there for you to customize. So let's say custom 1, you want to use it something for, specifically that we don't have in that client file, like a field available for specific kind of information based on your facility. What you can do is actually select here. I'm going to use the employee file as an example. So the employee file here, this is just remember when you're in the manager module, this is a back-end setup. You don't put any client information or employee information in here. This is just changing the name of the label for that field. So let's say for that field, for the employee, you want to have, and let's say you're using a separate system and that you keep specific kind of coding for the employee for. So let's say that other software name is called Harry. Harry code or Harry employee number. This is what you can put in here and then save it. Once you save it and you go into the employee file, you're gonna see this label, and I'm gonna show you exactly how that looks. So if you click on employees, and let's go into anybody here, let's go to Teddy. And then we're gonna go over here to other setup. And as you can see here, Harry employee number. So what we're doing is we are just setting up the labels for these fields. You want to use these fields for anything you want, or you don't have to use it. You can pull these fields in specific employee reports. If it's some sort of a report that you do not see the custom fields available, let us know. And what we can do is go ahead and bring those fields in for you and create a custom report for you. If it's something that's going to be pretty complex and you're creating a whole new report, there is a cost for that. But if it's something that, one of our, most common reports, you just want to bring in an extra column, we'll be happy to do that for you. Please submit a ticket to support and we'll be happy to take care of that for you. But the labeling, totally up to you. There are a lot of employee reports that already offer these custom fields for you. So this is where you would see a label. Same thing for client. It would just show up in the client section of under setup. So it would look exactly like this. It's custom 1 through 11, and you can change any of these labels. You are welcome to, and it will go ahead and just change those labels for those custom fields. I actually had one facility recently, which I thought was an awesome idea. They're a pretty large facilities. So what they did is they need a report that shows all of their doctors. All of their doctors that send the referrals in. So they need the doctor's information. So they used actually all 11 fields. They used doctor name, what was the doctor address, doctor email, contact email, the doctor's phone number, all that fun stuff. They used all of this information, and they had special doctor IDs that they had from another system. Just to recognize them, and they used all of these fields for that. I thought that was an awesome idea. So then they just pulled that information in with the client's active report, and it will pull all that information in there under all of those custom columns that you'll see in there in the client's active report. But if you need to see it in another report, just let us know, and we'll be happy to help you out with that. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next tab here. This one's pretty simple. Set up zones. So setting up zones, zones are used, if you're not familiar with it, zones are used for organization and pretty much organizing the schedules for your schedulers. So it's usually used for scheduling purposes. So let's say you're a large facility and you have about, let's not use a big number, let's say about 30 clients. So you have 30 kiddos and they are spread out through the city. So you can actually name different zones within the city as to where these clients live. So if you wanted to do San Jose, California, that's San Jose is one area, or if you have downtown as one area, you can actually label those as zones. And then you can attach your clients in the client bio. If you go into the clients file, you can just select a zone that you've created, select it from the dropdown, and that kiddo will be assigned to that zone. So when you're scheduling sessions, and let's say you have 5 schedulers, or let's say 4 schedulers, and you have 4 zones, you can have each scheduler just have their specific zone that they work on. So what it does is it's just for convenience, it's just for organization. As far as clients, you can actually just assign those zones, assign those clients to those zones so that your schedule just can work on a specific zone at one time. Or it's going to be easier to search for kids. If you know that kid is under a specific zone, you just select the zone and then you'll see your list of kids under that zone. It's just for organization. Mostly larger facilities use that. Some facilities use it based on, they assign the zones based on insurance companies. So let's say you have a bunch of kids that are under Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you have a bunch of kids that are under Aetna, and you have a bunch of kids that are under United, and you want to be able to search for those kids based on what insurance they have when you're scheduling. You could do that. You can name your zones under insurances. We've had facilities do that too. Totally up to you how you want to use it, to your convenience. It just assigns kiddos to zones. That's all it does. It's for scheduling purposes. If you have any questions about that, please do let us know and we'll be happy to help. Set up holiday. So holiday, this is used for what holidays you guys observe throughout the year. So if you guys observe specific holidays and you were closed during that time, and you know that you do not want to have any of your providers schedule sessions during that time, or alert them if they are scheduling during that time, or one of your schedulers is trying to schedule a session on Thanksgiving Day, it can alert you. But you do have to add these US holidays. You do have to add them in here so that the system will recognize it and give you that alert. I'm going to be going over a different tab in just a little bit, and I'm going to be using this setup holiday. I'm going to use it as an example so that you can see what what you're able to do as far as blocking or just giving the alert. So let's say this is a blank page. All you have to do is select add federal US holidays, and we'll go ahead and populate for you the most common ones. And then if you want to add more that you don't see in here, individual ones, all you have to select is add holiday, scroll down and go ahead and put in the name and the description, and it will go ahead and put that in there for you. Set up activity subtypes. So if you are billing with us, usually you do not have to worry about this. This is usually set up based on what's in your contracts. And our billing onboarding person will go ahead and set that up for you. And they will go ahead and discuss any preferences that you guys may have. Let's say you're not billing with us and you need to set this up yourself. Activity subtypes are usually used for billable activities that you need to assign a specific subtype to, as far as, like, let's say we'll use assessment, for example. So you have two options. You have non-billable and billable. So the billable, you have the our activities that are in here. This is a master list. This cannot be changed or added to. These are items that are the used activities in the behavioral therapist world. So this will usually be on all of your contracts for insurances. So for example, assessment. What I have subtypes that I've added is initial and follow-up. Those are the most common ones. But if there's ones that you guys go by, like a different lingo, you guys are welcome to change this here. So when your schedulers, when they schedule, they're not going to see the codes. They're going to see the activity and the sub-activity. The codes are going to be on the back end, and they're going to be in your authorization. What we need to do here is we need to assign the sub-activity to the activity that's going to go to a specific code. So the code for assessment, we are going to add a code that's within your contract, but the scheduler doesn't need to see that. They just need to see what they need to schedule for. So they're going to see assessment, and then they're going to see, depending on what's in that authorization, if in the authorization they were approved for initial and for follow-up, they're going to see both of those items under the activity list. So they'll see assessment, and then right next to it, it'll say initial, and then the next one will say assessment, and then it'll say follow-up. So this is assigning. It's for cosmetic purposes. It does not go to billing, but what we do is we take these activities and sub-activities, we assign the codes to them. So really important is that if you're setting this up yourself, go ahead and take a look at your contracts and see what kind of lingo is used. If you want to change it up a little, you are welcome to. Just make sure you assign the correct codes when you're doing the rate list. And the rate list and entering authorizations, that's going to be in a future webinar that we're going to do, and we will we'll notify you guys when we'll do that. Or you can check out our webinars list on our help section to see if it's already been completed. So So just to add another subtype, all you have to select is add subtype, go ahead and put the description and select save. So if you select, for example, I'll show you one more example here, direct behavior therapy. I have direct behavior therapy, BCBA, RBT, and BCABA. Sometimes there will be assistant, there'll be different lingo that you could use. Totally up to you how you want to do that, and that will show up when you're scheduling the sessions. One more thing here, non-billable. So if you are selecting a non-billable, these are our non-billable activities. These have nothing to do with insurance. This is for your convenience. If you want to be able to add labels to the activities that we already have in the system, you can. So for example, under training and admin, you can go ahead and add an activity. So let's say it's a specific kind of training that you do for your employees, let's say once a month that you guys have. What you can do is enter the type of training. So you can do training 1. You can just call it that, or anything that you want. You can actually, you can go ahead and label it. Once you click save, it's going to say training 1. So now when you go into the non-billable session and you select the activity training and admin, you can actually see an extra drop down that's going to be next to it, and you'll be able to select training 1. So you can add so many different non-billable sub-activities as you want. Like I said, this has nothing to do with insurance companies. There's no codes that are going to be attached to this. These are only non-billable activities that are used for the facility to pay their providers for their time that they're not pretty much not seeing a client. So it's not going to be attached to a client at all. These are activities that have to do with admin, that have to do with, regular time. Sometimes it's used for the office staff to track their time. Totally up to you how you want to use it, but just know that it has nothing to do with a client. It will not go on a client schedule. It will only go on the provider schedule, and it will have nothing to do with an insurance too, client's insurance. So just to let you know about that, and you can set this up, play around with it. If you want to hide it, you can. If you do go ahead and create it, you can actually, inactivate it if you'd like, if you don't want it to show any longer. But you cannot delete it once it is created, but you can always come in here and activate it. So if you do have any questions about these, and you are billing with us, please do contact your account manager, especially if you have questions about the billable ones. The non-billable ones, you're welcome to ask us at support too, and submit a ticket through the help section, and we'll be able to help you out with that too. So ADP codes, this is actually the second part of the setup for ADP. So if you are doing your payroll with ADP, you can actually set up the pay codes based on what activity that you are billing under. So you would just enter the codes here. This will only pop up for specific codes that we activate for you if you are using ADP. If you do decide to add codes in here for a different system, please do let me know, and I can see what I can do, and maybe we can go ahead and still generate a report for you by the information that you have entered in here, but it's not necessarily ADP. That's okay. If it's a different payroll report, maybe it's something that we can do with another company. If it's something that's more common, like paychecks or anything like that, we can go ahead and see what we can do for you. There's always a way around it, or at least 99% of the time. So create session rules. So this is what I was talking about when I was saying that I'm going to give an example as far as set up holiday. So you have those holiday days in there. So here we have down here, we have holiday session scheduled on a holiday. So if this first box is checked, what it's going to do, it's going to show you a view button when you create the session. So after you create the session and it's on the kiddo schedule and you're in the schedule grid view, you're going to see a view button at the end of that session. If you see a view button, that means one of these rules have been broken. Not necessarily going to affect anything in the system. It's just telling you what you've broken. So it's up to you if you want to delete that session, if you added it by accident, you want to adjust the time, you want to adjust the date, anything you want to do, totally up to you how you want to do that. The system is just letting you know that one of these rules has been broken. Prevent session creation. So in addition to this checkbox here, let's say you select this one right here, and then you go in and you create a session on Christmas Day. And you have this box, the second box selected. What it's going to do it's not going to let you create that session. It's going to say session created on a holiday, session not created. So it's not going to put it on the schedule. It will stop you in your tracks to create that session. That is what this second box means, that it's going to prevent you from creating that session. So if you leave it unchecked, we always recommend leaving these boxes on so that it does tell you what you've done, but it doesn't prevent you from creating it. If you do want that prevention, in addition to this one, you want to have this one checked. You don't want to uncheck this one and then check this. You still want to leave this checked at all times. And then this will be in addition. It'll let you know why, and it will prevent you from creating the session. So this is used a lot for like the authorization rules. If the therapist has a leave on that day, it'll stop them from creating it. But if you have a session that you've already created on that day and then you add the leave, it is possible that the system is going to let you know as to what happened. It'll either like let you know when you are creating the leave, it's going to let you know that you cannot, or it's going to let you create it, but that it's going to push that session to a dummy provider so that you can reschedule it with another provider. So, so I would recommend going through all these rules. And if you have any questions, send it over to our support team and we'd be happy to give you a description as to what it's going to do in the system. So moving on, we have setup employee. So setup employee, when you are a new facility, we do recommend going in here and setting up your employee file. Just remember, when you're in the manager module, this is the back end setup. You do not enter employee information in here. This is just setting up to what you want to view in that employee file and how you want to use that employee file. So here with the credentials, what we have in the system is we have where we can upload the credentials based on your protocol for your facility, what you guys require when you hire an employee. You can actually upload those credentials and track their expiration dates. So if you track their expiration dates, what's really cool is that on the dashboard, you are actually going to see on the dashboard here, you're going to see missing credentials, and then you're going to see expiring credentials. What that means is that missing, depending on how you're going to set it up, it'll let you know that you have some employees that you have not uploaded documents for. Here, this will let you, based on the expiration date that you've entered for the credentials, the system is letting you know 30 days in advance that you have a credential that's going to expire. So it lets you know 30 days in advance. But as soon as that passes that 30 days, the alert is going to go away if you haven't adjusted that date. So really important is that you keep track of these expiration dates and you upload the new credentials as soon as possible. Let's say you're within the 30 days and you hit that 15-day mark. You have 15 days left. The provider is going to get an alert on their My Schedule tab. It's going to have a red alert at the top saying that they have one credential that is expiring, and it'll let them know which credential that is expiring. So they get the 15-day mark, you get the 30-day mark, so that you can let them know verbally or in an email separately from the system. You can let them know, hey, can you go ahead and send me your information? You've got 30 days. So, but then let's say 15 days pass by and they didn't send you anything, they'll start to get an alert on their My Schedule tab. So that was something that was recently added. I thought that was pretty cool with the alert. So going back over here is the select credential type. So I went ahead and selected the behavior analyst. So if they are set up in the employee tab as a behavior analyst, you have the option to add what kind of credentials you would require from a behavior analyst if you hired them in your company. So you would select the credentials. This is our master list over to the left, and this is your facilities list. So I've already brought over some. I brought over BCBA, driver's license, state photo ID. I can go ahead and add a few more if I'd like. Over here, let's say, let's see what else we can take a look here. If you needed their, health insurance eligibility information, you can put that in there, and that brings it over to your facilities list. You want to go into the clearance too, so maybe fingerprinting or anything else that's in here, like FBI clearance or anything like that you want to add. You can go ahead and add that here. I've already added FBI clearance, but we have some other descriptions based on the state. It will it will have most of them in here, but like I showed you with the pairs, same thing here. Let's say you go through all of the lists, but please make sure that you go through all the clearance and all the qualifications. If you don't see something in here, like let's say in credentials, it might be in clearance or qualification. So we might see it as a different level. It doesn't really matter as far as like, this is not going to insurance, it's not going anywhere. So this is all, you know, for your preference and for your convenience. So please do look through all the lists before you do request an item that is not in here, and we'll go ahead and add it for you. You can submit it to support and we'll go ahead and add it for you. If you are a brand new facility, go ahead and send it over to your implementation specialist. And they will be able to add it for you. But if you are a graduated facility and you've been with us for a long time, please do submit all of your requests to through support, and we'll be able to get that uploaded for you. HR note type. What this is used, I've put some examples in here. So this, if you haven't used this before, it's going to be blank. These are just examples that I've entered in here. What this does is it creates a drop down. When you're in the employee file under HR note, there's a drop down menu. That drop down menu is going to be empty until you fill it up with what items you want to be under there. Usually the HR note tab is used. It is used for documents that you can upload or any notes you can upload, HR notes for your employee, but you don't need to track any expiration dates. Unlike credentials, you want to track those expirations, and that's where you want to use those items for. But in here, you can actually set up that drop down. So when you're in the employee file, and I'll go in here, I think we're still, oh, no, we're not in there. So I'm going to go over here in the employee, and I'm going to show you exactly where you can see that. So first I'm going to go back here, credentials. So as you can see under credentials, if you select add credential, you'll see the items that I've added here. So you would select the item, add the issue date and the expiration date, and go ahead and upload it here. So, and then you have the clearance section and the qualification section. So anything I've added to those drop-down menus, you would see under here. So like here, qualification, you see the ones that I've added here. So this is, I just wanted to explain where it's coming from, where you're setting up. Same thing with the HR notes. You select this tab here. Here you can select add note, and then you can see this drop down here. If you're a brand new facility, you're gonna see this drop down empty until you put the items that you want in there. So I've just put in here examples that I've heard of that facilities have used, but if you wanted to use something else, you are welcome to. So if they've been written up, you can have that. If they're evaluations, obviously there's no expiration date, so you can actually use that and upload a document. So let's say if I put in their 6-month evaluation, I can either just use the note boxes here, or if you have a written document you want to upload that you've scanned in, go ahead and select that, and then you can upload the document and save it, and we'll go ahead and put it up here in the list for you. So this is just, if you want to go completely paperless, I recommend using this to the fullest. Same thing with credentials and with the HR notes. Go ahead and upload everything you can so you can go completely paperless. You don't have to worry. So over here, you have, so you have this here with the HR note type. Then you have employee position. So employee position is just creating that drop down again. So if you go in here to the employee, and then you go under the bio, you can go over here and you see title. So the employee position is where title is. So I've added all of these options here. You can add, you are welcome to add some for yourself. If you want to add a position manually, you are able to do that and go ahead and put in what you would like. And then go ahead and select save. What that does is if you add it, it's going to actually pull up the rest of the ones that you've added in here before. And then it will go ahead and produce that for you. So I've added all of these different ones. You can add them, and then you will see them in the drop down. Just remember that there is a menu down here that you can see. There's different pages. Some people just use the 5 standard employee positions. These are used so that, let's say, for example, we only have behavior analyst and paraprofessional, but in your facility, a behavior analyst could mean BCBA, or like under paraprofessional. Under paraprofessional, it could mean in your facility, a position could be RBT or a BCABA. or assistant or technician or anything like that, you can actually create these position names, and then you can use the drop down here and then select the title, and then it will be in their bio as to what their specific title in the company is. Then you can pull it into reports if needed. Just for reporting purposes, it's not going to go to billing, it's not going to go anywhere else in the system, cosmetic purposes, and for convenience. That is all that it's used for. So, so you have this here. So then we're going to go to the next tab here. So the next tab here is the add, edit users. So to add a user, I'm going to go over on how to add a user to the system. Here you see the list of users that have already been added. And down here, if you wanted to add a user, you would select the type of user that you want to add. So providers will be your behavior analysts and your paraprofessionals. So anybody that's going to be seeing a client. So if you select that, it's going to bring all of the employees up that have not been created as a user yet, so that it reduces to where you don't create them twice. And it will only show you a list that people that have not been created a user, and if they are a paraprofessional or a behavior analyst. It will not bring office staff into this section. So Teddy here, I have not created as a user yet. So I'm going to go ahead and select Teddy here. As you can see, there is no email. I have not entered an email in here for Teddy. You do not want to enter an email in here. You want to go back to the employee and make sure that you edit the employee email in the employee file first. So I'm going to put testing. Let's just do teddy@noemail.com. So you want to put in the email and you want to go ahead and click save. What that's going to do is you want to come back in here and reload the page. So I'm just going to go back to the manager module and come back in here. Add, edit users. So we're going to come back in here and we are going to go ahead and pull up Teddy again. So we're going to select add user. And then we are going to go ahead and select Teddy. And now if we scroll down, now we can see his email in there, which is awesome. So let's say you already have an email in there, but it's incorrect. Same exact procedure. You go back to the employee file, go ahead and edit that employee email and click save, then reload the page in here. The reason behind this is that we want to make sure that the employee file and the user profile that you are creating for them is synced so that we don't create any errors in the system. So that the system knows that this email belongs to this person, and when this person renders any sessions, we know it's coming from them. So it's for documentation purposes, it is for auditing purposes, and it helps, prevent any errors in the system. So just make sure that they're synced and you are good to go. So second step here, I'm going to go over what each of these permissions mean. I do want to, I did notice the time right now. This is taking a little bit longer than what I expected. So this is going to be recorded. So if anybody needs to leave or anything and want to view this later, it is going to be available on our help section. But I welcome everybody to stay and listen to it so that if you have any questions, you guys can submit them to Matthew. He is listening in and answering any questions you guys may have. So, so just to go over these sections here, the My Schedule Access Only. My Schedule Access Only is when you give a provider access to when you give the provider access to the system, they're only going to have specific tabs. So for a provider, they only get usually their My Schedule tab. If you're an office user, you're not going to see that tab. That is only given to providers. So the My Schedule Access Only means that they only get access to the My Schedule tab, and then they get access to the Messages tab, the Submit Timesheet tab, and the Submit Leave tab, and of course the Help tab. Those are the tabs that they're going to get. They cannot schedule sessions for themselves. They cannot schedule or view anybody else's schedule. This is usually used for providers that are only going to be rendering sessions on a daily basis for sessions that have already been scheduled for them. So they're just going to see them on their My Schedule page and they just render. So that is usually what the My Schedule Access Only by default, that's what they would get when you create them as a user. My Schedule, Edit Own Schedule. This, in addition, to their My Schedule tab, they are going to be able to create sessions only for themselves. So they're on their My Schedule tab, they're going to see a link at the upper right of the screen. They're going to see a link that says add billable session, add non-billable session. When they click that, they can only create a session for themselves. They will not be able to change the provider. They cannot edit for anybody else or view anybody else's schedule. This is only for people that usually just need to create sessions for themselves. Usually contractors will do that. They'll have this permission where they would just have access to their own schedule. They can only schedule sessions for themselves and edit for themselves. So it's pretty much what everything that you have at the My Schedule Access only, but they would just have that additional link for adding non-billable and adding billable sessions. My Schedule and Edit Own Schedule View All. What this is, they get everything that you see here, but they will in addition get a new tab. They will get the Scheduler tab. So the Scheduler tab is usually used for schedulers if you guys are familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, I do recommend going to another webinar that we have that goes over the Scheduler tab on how to schedule sessions, and it goes pretty much over all of the items under the Scheduler tab. Scheduler tab is usually used for schedulers that schedule for everybody else and including themselves. So you'll have providers that schedule for themselves and schedule, I guess if they're a BCBA, they'll schedule for their RBTs too. So that would be used for, but then this section, just to let you know, you can schedule for yourself, but you cannot schedule for anybody else, but you can view everybody else in that Scheduler tab, but you won't be able to edit anything. It'll be, if you try to click something and edit it, the system will stop you unless it's a session that you've created yourself for yourself. So, so it's really important that the View All, they can only view everything in the scheduler. They cannot, they'll have access to that tab, they can see everything, but they will not be able to edit anything except for their own schedule. If it's scheduled under them as a provider, even if someone scheduled it for them, it's under themselves, then they can edit it if they are the assigned provider. Everybody else, they can just view it. So it's just for viewing purposes. View and edit all. Obviously, what they'll have is that Scheduler tab, but they can go in and schedule for themselves, schedule for the rest of the staff, and they can view for themselves in the Scheduler tab and for everybody else, in addition to all the rest of the other standard tabs that they would have in these two here. So they would just get in addition, they'll just get that Scheduler tab. So that's what that is for. This one is usually used for the owner of the facility, and then all of your schedulers, all of your providers that are schedulers in addition to being a provider. That's what this would be used for, and for your higher admin people that are providers within the facility. This is the highest permission as a provider. They would select that. So for Teddy, I'm just going to go ahead and select the highest one for him. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then here, in addition, this is kind of like a little shortcut that we added if you wanted to give them CSV report access. So usually if they get access to all of this, you can give them access to the reports. That gives them access to the CSV report link. And they are able to go into that and see all of the CSV reports. Please note that it does not give them access to the paper-based reports. The paper-based reports is considered an owner-user section, and that is something that our support team would need to add on the back end for you. You are not able to add it for them. Usually it's only given to the owner. The reason why it has some sensitive information in there, you don't want to give it to everybody. But if they are a specific kind of employee in your facility that needs to have access to those paper-based reports, just let us know in support and we will go ahead and add that access for you. And it's called an owner user access, and it gives them access to that extra piece of information. So they'll have the reports tab if you select this, but it'll just have CSV reports. It will not just have that standard reports link in addition. So if you have any questions about that, and your admin of the company does have to, your admin of the company needs to request that. It cannot be a regular employee that requests that. So somebody that has access to the manager module, that is someone, or the owner of the company can go ahead and request that for specific employees. If you have employees that do ask for it, that they are just standard employees in the system, we will for Web ABA policy, we are not going to give them access to that. So it does have to be done by an admin if it is requested. So let's say Teddy, we want to go ahead and give him access. We don't want to give him report access. This is good enough. We're going to go ahead and select create edit user permissions. What that does is first, it adds Teddy here to the list and it says user created. Now Teddy has gotten an email sent to this email that is in their employee file, asking them to go ahead and log in and use the temporary password so that the system will prompt them to create their own password. Once they create their own password, they'll have access to the system and they'll be good to go as far as that. So that's how you create for a provider. You have an office staff person. So let's say you want to add an office staff person as a user. A little different here. So we have Stacy here. She is an office staff person that was added to the system as office staff, not as a provider. So you have same procedure here. Make sure that the email is correct. Allow access to. So it looks a little different in the, instead of a drop down, we have checkboxes here. Manage client means that they'll get access to the client tab. Manage staff means that they'll get access to the employee tab. Scheduler tab, billing tab, payroll tab, payroll rate, and HR notes. These two tabs here are within the manage staff tab, which is the employee tab. And that is actually in here. So HR notes and payroll rate. As you can see, these are two little sub tabs that are in the employee module. So in the employee module, if you want to give them access to employees, but you do not want to give them access to those two extra tabs in there, it's a little more private information, you can go ahead and uncheck those and then select create edit user permissions. What that'll do is it will send Stacy an email so that she can go ahead and log in and create her, her own password. And then she'll have access to the system and all of the tabs that you have given her access to. So let's say you went ahead and gave her access to that, but you realize you want to give her more, access. So I'm going to show you guys a few items here in this dropdown. So I'm going to go over that in just a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to close it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select, let's use the office, the base staff here. So under base staff, let's say I want to do a few things here. I tried to log in and the system is saying that I'm locked. You would come in here, select the box and select unlock user. That will unlock them so that they can try to log in again. Let's say they know for sure that they do not know their password and they're like, I cannot log in and it keeps locking me out. No matter how many times you unlock me, it's locking me again. So all you have to do is select unlock user, unlock them first. If they are locked and you try to send them a reset password email, it will not work. You have to make sure that your users are unlocked before you send that email. It will not work at all. So you would select unlock user and go ahead and unlock them. Then the second, the second step is selecting reset password. You select the pencil and then you're going to scroll down to the bottom. Selecting the pencil by itself will not do anything. All it does is it brings up that, that window again where, or that section again, I should say, for when you first created them. So when you reset the password, the system is just telling you, hey, do you want to change anything before you reset their password again? So all you have to do is select that pencil and come down here and select create edit user permissions. That will send over that email to them so that they can reset it. If you don't change anything in here, it doesn't really matter. This is just the second step after you select the pencil if you want to reset their password. So that is how you reset. Make sure that they are unlocked. And then you'll be able to send that email over. Activate users. So let's say you've marked them as inactive, so you don't want them to log in for a specific amount of time. Let's say for like a few months if they're out of town or on probation or anything like that. You don't want to give them access to the system. This is for temporarily. So you can mark them as inactive, and then you can come back in here and mark them as active if needed. If let's say they come back to the company. Delete user access. I recommend using delete user access if they are no longer employed with you guys and they are not coming back. you can select delete user access. What it does is it takes it back a step. It still leaves them in as an employee. They'll still have an employee file in here. It's not going to affect this. Deleting user access, what it does is it removes them from this list here. So it takes it back a step. It'll remove them from this list, and then it will go ahead and put them back into, the list, the drop-down list right down here. It will just take them back a step to if you want to create them as a user all over again. So that's what this is used for, is delete user access. You always want to keep your employee files active in here, especially if they're providers and you still have active billing for them, even though you've let them go. You can't delete an employee, which we don't recommend doing that anyways, because for audit purposes, always keep your employee files, because they're attached to sessions, so you do have to keep them. But let's say you've built everything out and you're good to go. You can always inactivate them in addition to deleting their user access so that you don't see them in the employee file when you're searching for employees. And then in the employee file, you can always search for inactivated employees if needed. So always remember it's separate. Employee tabs are separate from user access. Employee tab, that is that first step of adding them as an employee and then giving that employee user access. That's what's in here. So you delete user access, that's all you can do. That's all you have to do is just delete user access. That just makes sure that they don't have a user access profile anymore. They cannot log in. Inactivating them, like I said, use that for temporarily, like if they're leaving for a few months and you just want to just temporarily inactivate them where they can't log in anymore, but you want to keep their profile, their user profile intact as far as what permissions they have and everything for future reference. So, or future activation. Let's say you've sent that reset password. You've sent that reset password and a reset password email and they're not getting it. Or they look through their junk mail and they're still not seeing it. Sometimes that'll happen if they have weird emails with weird names and special characters or anything like that. Or company-based emails sometimes will have something weird in the background where our emails don't like it. It happens. It doesn't happen too much, but it'll happen every now and then. So what you can do is create a manual password for them. If you select update password, you are able to enter a manual password for them. You don't have to do the reset password email. You can just enter a password, go ahead and put that in there and select OK. That just sets a password for them. They just use their login email. They try to log in and give them the manual password that you gave them. I recommend do not send it in an email. Always give it to them verbally for HIPAA purposes. Never send password information in any email. I always recommend giving it to them verbally or have them come in to your office and go ahead and have them set their own password manually right in front of you as you have the screen up. So I recommend those two things. Do not send it in an email. Password information for WebABA is not recommended to be sent through an email for HIPAA purposes. If your email gets hacked, they will have access to WebABA and you might not know it. So that's a huge HIPAA violation and we want to make sure that we're protecting our clients' information. So that's how you would do a manual password. So next thing here, you have specific CSV report access. What this is used for is, if you remember where we had that checkbox and it gives them access to CSV reports, you can actually give them access to CSV reports. Let's say you don't want to give them access to all the reports. You just want to give them access to specific ones. That's when you would come, that's when you would come in here. You would come in here and start selecting reports. Just know as soon as you start selecting the reports, for this person, for this user going forward will only have access to specific reports you select. If you leave it alone and just leave it the way it is from the beginning and not do anything and just select CSV reports and give them access to it, they will get access to all of them automatically. The only time it will give them access to specific ones is when you start adding. You can see it here in red. This section is not required if the user will get access to all CSV reports. If this option is selected, user will have access to only those reports that have been assigned, but that is going forward. If you ever want to give them access to all reports in the future, you do have to come in here and select all of them and then add it. What it does is just it activates a part of the system where it just gives them specific ones. But if you never come in here and you give them report access, it's going to give them access to all of it automatically. It's only if you come in here and start giving them specific ones that it will activate that specific kind of permission. So totally up to you how you want to do that. If you have any questions about it, please do let us know and we'll be happy to go over that with you. Page permissions. Page permissions are the tabs that they get access to in the system. So I'm in the base. That's actually what I'm logged in right now. And we're talking about all of these tabs that this office user has access to. So if you come in here, you can see here that all the boxes are checked and there's nothing here in the unassigned pages right here. But let's say, for example, if we go to a provider, I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to go to a provider. I know Lily only has specific ones. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to page permissions. And then we're going to scroll down here. So this looks a little different. They're a provider. So when they were created as a provider, they automatically got access to the calendar, messages. They got access to the submit leave and the submit timesheets. And then, of course, it's not in here, but their My Schedule tab, that is by default. They all get access to that. You cannot remove it. So as you can see, that these are the ones that they have access to as far as what's checked here. If I want to give her access to more things, I can give her access to the clients tab. I can give her access to the staff tab, which is the employee tab, staff HR notes, and staff other setup and payroll rate. These things here, you can give them access to in additional to the employee. That these are these other little tabs that I was talking about: HR notes, other setup, and payroll rate. You can actually, decide as to what if these three little tabs you do not want to give them access to, you can uncheck it. But you can still give them access to the employee file. So owner user, this is what I was talking about that extra item under reports. I always recommend having us add it for you, but if you wanted to go ahead and add it, you can. This is the reports thing here. If you give them access to CSV reports, they will not automatically get access to this. They will only get access to CSV. The only time they'll get access to this one here, which is the paper-based reports, is if you select owner user. You select that and bring it over to this list here. It will give them access in addition to the CSV reports. But you want to make sure that the reports checkbox is also checked because it will not pop up if that's not checked, which is the actual reports tab right here. So moving forward here, so you go ahead and select what you need and then select save permission and it will give them access to those additional tabs. So going back here, manager module access, that's where we're in right now. What I've been going over for the last hour is the manager module. So the manager module is all the tabs that we just went over. I'm going to go over one more tab before I let you guys go. And then we are going to go, we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. But if you want to give them access to the manager module, they can have access to the dashboard. That's not a big deal. But they will not have this link in there unless you give it to them. So for a user, if you want to give them access to the manager module, first they need to have access to the dashboard. And then in addition, you would give them manager module access and it will activate that link on their dashboard when they log in. So that's what that is for, is to get access to all of these tabs that we've been going over. So, okay, allow multiple facility access. You don't have to worry about this. This is usually used if a facility has multiple facilities with different tax IDs that we've created in the system on the back end. Most facilities do not see this option, so you can disregard it in this webinar. You will not see that. So manager module access all the way to the top. These are the items that I just went over. If you have any questions, please do let us know. If you are a new facility, please let your implementation specialist know if you have any questions. If you are a facility that have been with us for a while, and this was a refresher for you, please do contact support if you have any questions about this page or any of the user permissions that you want to add or do anything like that. One more thing I do want to show you real fast in here that a lot of people don't know about, which is under add user or create user, client. What this means is that you can actually give the client's parents access to the parent portal. They will not get access to any of the things that I've showed you today, which as far as all of those tabs, they will get access to a special portal. In that portal, they will see a copy of their kiddo's schedule. They will see another tab that is called the signatures. They can go in and sign for sessions that have already been completed. Let's say the provider does not get a signature from the kiddo or from the kiddo's parents at the session. Let's say for some reason he forgot or anything like that. You can have the parent go into their parent portal and sign for those sessions digitally. So they can do that in the parent portal. This is a free feature that we do offer for you guys. If it's something that you do want to find out information about, it is actually in the help section. If you search for parent portal, it shows you a PDF that you can download, that you can send over to the parents to use to get started, but you need to create them as a user first. So you would select the client, and then verify that the email is correct. So it's pretty much the same thing. Like here we have Linda doesn't have an email in the system. So most parents, you know, a lot of parents or client files don't have emails in there. They go by phone number or anything like that. You just want to make sure you get a good email from them, add it into their client file and come back in here and refresh. And then you can go ahead and just click create user. That just gives them access to the parent portal. Just know in the parent portal, they cannot cancel a session. They cannot change a session. It's only viewing purposes only. They have to contact your facility to make any changes or any cancellations to their schedule. It's only for viewing. That's all it's for, a digital view of their kid's schedule. And at the same time, any kind of errors that they're having within the system, please do not have them contact WebABA. WebABA is for you guys only. They do have to direct all of your questions to you, and then they can go ahead, you can go ahead and contact support if you have any questions of any errors that they're seeing. Till now, I've been here for about a year and a half. I haven't seen any errors in Parent Portal. So most likely there isn't any error because it's very simple. All you have is that one tab with the schedule, and the other tab is the signatures page. So usually it ends up being something that's going on with their browser, but they need to either clear their history or use a different browser. We always recommend using the Chrome version browser. We always recommend using Chrome even when using the Parent Portal. So that is how you create a client. If you have any questions about that, about the Parent Portal, shoot an email to support and we'll send you over that PDF or direct you as to where it is in the help section. And you can send over a copy of that PDF to your clients. There's also steps in there as to what I just went over on how to create them as a client and all that fun stuff. It has that information in the help portal. So I'm going to go back to the manager module here, take us back to those other tabs, and we have manage payroll. So hide timesheet link. Hide timesheet link will hide this link right here, submit timesheet. It will remove it from the tabs here. This is used if you want to remove it temporarily. You don't want to give your providers access to the timesheet until the end of the pay period. That's our recommendation, especially if you're a large facility. The reason why is people try to jump the gun and kind of try to submit their timesheets before they have rendered all of their sessions for that pay period. There's no point. If they go in there and submit a timesheet without rendering all of their sessions for that pay period, the system's going to stop them and not let them submit the timesheet anyways. But it could mess up some of your payroll reports if you're viewing them for people that have already submitted, and the statuses are going to look different. You'll have some statuses that'll say submitted to office, and some statuses that'll say ready to submit. Ready to submit means that they've gone in there and looked at their timesheet and tried to submit it and could not, and it errored out for them for some reason. That will send that status to your timesheet reports. Submitted to office means that it's been submitted to successfully, and you know those hours are set in stone and you're good to use it from that report. If it says ready to submit, do not believe those hours. It could be different because there could be sessions that have not been rendered. There could be overlaps, could be completely different. Those hours are not set in stone. The only time it's set in stone if it says submitted to office. That is the only time you want to believe those hours as far as what has been submitted. So some facilities like to go ahead and hide those, hide these tabs until the end of the pay period. They'll leave it open for 2-3 days after the end of the pay period and then go ahead and have it disappear again. You have another shortcut here. Timesheet link is the same exact thing that you would see it right in here. It's just a shortcut on the dashboard. Disallow rendering sessions. Some facilities use this if they don't want to give the rendering option to sessions before a specific date. So any kind of like anything more than 3 months old, they cannot render, so they're not going to get paid for it. And the facility is probably not going to get paid for it because they couldn't bill it out. If it's not rendered, it's not billed out. So they usually put a date in there, but this date needs to be changed every day. It's not something that's going to automatically roll over or anything like that. Pay periods. So this is usually set up when you first sign up with us. I am actually going to do a separate video for this on how to set up pay periods for a facility. This one is already set up. So let's say, for example, actually, let me see. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can set up, if I don't already have 2019 in here. Let me go ahead and take a look here. I don't need to do a separate video. Yeah, we can go ahead and use this one. So I'm going to show you guys how to add for 2019. So for here, we have the way that it's already set up is, let's see here. We have it set up for biweekly. So the system is set up as biweekly for 2018. So we're going to set up 2019 for biweekly. So biweekly, you can go ahead and select biweekly. You can select the year that you're setting up, 2019, and the end of your next pay period date for this year. So if you're setting up a new year, which we always recommend doing at the end of the current year, if you haven't done it already, if you see the year available in here, you can go ahead and start setting it up at any time, just as long as you're not in that year, if you're in that pay period, specific pay period already. So if you're setting up the new year, you want to make sure that you do it at the end of 2019 if you're setting up 2019. So the end of the next period end date. So let's go ahead and let's do this. So it would be probably 01/15/2019. And for that check date, we'll just say 3 days. So we'll go 01/18/2019. So this will be the check date. And then over here, you have how many days employee can't submit their timesheet. Just to let you know, this is disabled in the system. It no longer works. Just go ahead and at least put any kind of number in there. It just sets a date in here, but it is not activated in the system. We disabled that for a reason. I'm not really sure what the reasons were, but the reason that I do know of is that it was causing errors in the system, and a lot of facilities, they weren't liking the errors that were popping up. So a lot of people requested not to have that. So we just disabled it in the system to where it will not like give an alert, or it will not like stop the employees from submitting timesheets after so many days. We always give them the option. If that tab is available, they can submit the timesheet for any pay period. So, but still put a number in there. Do not leave that blank. You want to put a number in there, and then go ahead and select create pay periods for this year. So if it's been created successfully, we're going to take a look down here, and we're going to bring up 2019. Here we go. 12/31. Then we have 1/2 to 1/15, and then 1/16 to 1/29. So it depends on where that date fell. That's how it set it up. I did put 1/1. I think I did. So if you see anything wrong or anything like that, if you have a checkbox here, you can always adjust this. Like right here, I can go ahead and put in here 01/2019 and go ahead and save. And if it doesn't error out, should be good. The pay period has been updated successfully. If you have a checkbox in there, you can actually edit those dates if needed. So I have 1/1 to 1/15, 1/16 to 1/29. It's biweekly and it's good to go. So if these dates look great, you've already set up 2019. If you're a brand new facility, you're going to actually see this blank in here. You need to set up your pay periods based on how you pay your employees. So if you pay them biweekly, weekly, every 1st and 16th, monthly, custom, I don't recommend using unless it's very necessary, because it is time consuming because you have to do all the pay periods for the whole year. Don't really recommend doing that. It'll take you forever. And then you just put in the end date and the check date for the next pay period. And then you can go ahead and select create pay periods for this year. Just make sure you're selecting the right year and go ahead and put that information in there. If you are not in that actual pay period, let's say you're setting up ahead of time, you can always select all of them, all of the checkboxes. So if all the checkboxes are available and you said, oh, I did it completely wrong, I'm going to do it over again, and all the checkboxes are available, select them all and then just go ahead and select delete. It will only delete the ones that you're able to check. If you've already completed these pay periods or are in a pay period, as you can see here, this is one that's active, it will not let you delete or edit it. So just to keep that in mind. So any kind of issues or anything like that, if you're brand new, contact your implementation specialist. If you have been with us for a while and you want to make sure and have questions, if you have any questions before you want to do this, contact support and we'll be happy to help. We usually send out an email once a year at close to the end of the year, just reminding you to go ahead and set these pay periods up. We don't recommend sending it or setting it up. We don't recommend setting it up if you've already been in that year. That could cause errors and it could be very time consuming for you guys, because you have to wait for our development department to go ahead and fix that for you on the back end. So I want to make sure you guys get going as soon as possible for the new year and make sure you are good to go. So that's the end of the pay for the manager module. That's the payroll tab. Let's go ahead and take a look here. HIPAA has not been set up yet. We're going to add some things in the future here. We've just created a tab. We might add some cool stuff in here later on just for HIPAA information. We just created a tab for future coming soon information. So that was the pay period, the last tab within the manager module. I just want to make sure that what we're going to do is we're going to leave it open for a few more minutes. I'd say about another 6-7 minutes. We will leave the questions available. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. First, before I stop, I'm going to go back to the dashboard here, and I'm just going to show you guys the help section. So the help section, I am going to just pause the screen for just 1 second. Just want to make sure that I have it correct. So I'm going to show you guys the help section. Okay, so what I did is I clicked help here and it creates a new tab. It creates this, this new tab here, and it's our knowledge base. I like to put this in all the webinars, so just in case somebody missed it and didn't see it, you can go ahead and see it. This is our knowledge base. This first section here is really important. I'm going to be adding actually a new file for April, and just maybe either today or tomorrow. We have a new update that just came out. I'm going to be adding that for April. And you can come in here and check out what our updates have been, new enhancement to the system. We have each section in here based on what section you have access to in the system. Dashboard client, if you don't have access to that, probably the information is not really going to help in that section if you do look around. Reports, there are CSV report information here. I am going to be adding more information to reports pretty soon, more descriptions and all that fun stuff. Manager module, this is what we went over today with the webinar, and then it has things separated out if you wanted to take a look at that. Web ABA app, this is our mobile app section, to where if you wanted to find out information, look at screenshots and how to download the Kindle file. If you are using a Kindle, you cannot get it through the store. You do have to download the file from here. Any app updates. So any updates for the app, you are going to see it under here. And we try to update that every month also. If anything has been added to the mobile app, we do add a new document for that. Over here, we have our webinars, like the one we are in right now. This is updated every month. Usually when I complete a webinar, I should have the video up within about 2 to 3 days at the most, if not the same day. And I will go ahead and add it here. Anything you want to get a refresher on, that's what the webinars are for. And if you have any questions, let us know. This is what we're here for. To submit a support ticket, all you have to select is new support ticket. add the email. If you can use the email that you're logging in with, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. You can just put it in your signature as to what you log in with. Subject, organization. Organization is the facility you're working for. Description, please be as descriptive as possible. It will help out our team to answer your questions as quickly as possible. If you guys are vague with your questions, you're going to be going back and forth in your emails, and we do not recommend doing that. You know, every situation is different. So if you explain it very detailed, we can answer those questions very fast for you. Turnaround is pretty fast for support. I'd say about 24 to 48 hours, but usually lately I've seen it a lot faster than that. Attach a file. You can attach a screenshot here. You are welcome to attach a screenshot. This does go straight into our help section. So you can attach a file if you want to attach a screenshot. It'll help us out. If you just want to put a description, you're welcome to do that too. You can actually call into support too. You are welcome to do that, but I always recommend using the support ticket so you can put the description in there very detailed and everything. Sometimes the lines might be busy in support and you have to leave a voicemail. Please do not leave any client information on the voicemail for HIPAA purposes. Very important, do not leave any client names, date of birth, or anything like that. Please only use that if you're talking to them verbally. Over here, the phone number for our support team, you can put that, you can use that phone number and the extension. Like I said, sometimes we're busy. You might have to leave a voicemail and we might not get to that probably until the next day. The reason why is, you know, if we have a lot of phone calls coming through like that, voicemails are usually taken care of at the end of the day or the next morning. And support tickets can be, we have a faster turnaround with the support tickets. We recommend doing that because we're able to answer tickets in between phone calls really fast and get that going to you as soon as possible. So we are good as far as this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and close the recording.